Everything is perfectly managed in the unborn. These are the words of Banki, a Zen master from the 1600s. He realized this in a state of profound illness. He apparently spat some phlegm against a wall, and it was dark. Probably had, I would imagine, pneumonia, something like that. And he noticed the way it moved down the wall. And immediately this realization came to him that everything is perfectly managed in the unborn, perfectly managed in the unborn. This is a very profound revelation. And you can see the setup here. He was facing illness and perhaps death and dissolution of the functioning of the body. And he noticed something about that which not only represented the illness, the dissolution of the body, but that was also inert. It's not something we would normally take reference from to confirm our aliveness or our agency or our sense of being the center of experience or the center of everything. It's a simple, mundane observation. This doesn't have to be a body fluid. This could be a rock. It could be a shadow. It could be a stone, an animal, a bird. Often very mundane experiences, sounds, or visual experiences are the turning words or the turning points or the catalysts that open us to a truth that is so simple and obvious that it's fascinating that it escapes our notice for so long. And this truth is not a conceptual truth, not a word truth, not a truth that can be spoken or written or recorded. It's a truth that precedes all cognition, all thinking, all doctrine. But we may have a cognitive reflection upon it. We may say something outwardly or to ourselves like, everything is perfectly managed in the unborn. But what that points to is not something that we can describe in words at all. It's just too simple, ultimately too obvious. So isn't that fascinating that we can search endlessly for that which is too obvious to describe at all? So what in your experience right now is so obvious that you can't say anything about it? What is so obvious that you can't discover it? What is so obvious that you can't even uncover it? There's so many ways to speak about this, but all of them can be misinterpreted. I could say this is meeting experience exactly. I could say this is surrender. I could say this is zero distance. I could say this is the realization of non-agency, non-doership, or no self even. But all of these can become doctrine. All of these can become raw material for the mind to get to work on, to start to chew on. So sometimes the poetic ways of pointing are the best. Like everything is perfectly managed in the unborn. What does unborn mean? Is unborn some special mystical state? Is the unborn some place that's not within time or space? Is the unborn some deep realization had by only very few? Or is the unborn exactly this? What is exactly this? Before you started to seek, before you started to doubt, before you started to wonder what's wrong with you and how to fix it. What's simply this? right here, right now. Simply the case. Unarguable. Requiring no validation, requiring no confirmation, and benefiting from no description. What is it? What is so simple, obvious, and close that you can't go out and find it? What is so immediate that you can't find it in time? Meaning you won't find this later. That's the mistake so many make. Hearing this pointing and then convincing ourselves that, oh, that's going to come later. I'll work toward that. But this isn't something you can work toward because it's already the case. Freedom doesn't have to be earned. Freedom is, simply. So what is the unborn? Is it something that's not in your notice right now? I would argue, no, it is in your notice right now. You're looking at the unborn. You're hearing the unborn. You're feeling it. It is the hearing, feeling, and seeing. It is that sense of I arising, appearing. When we look closely enough at what feels solid, suddenly it's not so solid. When we look closely enough, rest squarely enough in that which feels complex, all of a sudden there's no complexity. When we peer closely enough into eternity, we know what the unborn is because we need the illusion of time, thought after thought after thought, to begin to believe in a past when one was born, when all of this was born, the universe. But that's a series of thoughts, analyses. So what is the unborn? You can ask the question without requiring your mind to try to construct an answer. What is the unborn? Let the answer be the totality of experience right now. Let the answer be the simplest, the most immediate, the most innocent. What is the unborn? And the more you attune to the unborn, or the more the unborn reveals itself as the sense of the one apart, the you, the self, starts to slow down and is seen just to be a collection of thoughts and impressions and perceptions. And the gap gets longer and longer between thoughts about I, thoughts about time. Then the unborn is revealed more and more clearly. And then it's seen what is meant by everything is perfectly managed. Everything is perfectly managed, meaning nothing has to be managed. You don't have to manage anything, and you never have. You've never managed. You've never been in control. You've never felt out of control. All of these experiences are relative perceptions, and they're perfectly okay. But they're not the root truth. The root truth is something so simple, so incredibly close, so ineffable, meaning we can't talk about it, that it will surprise you again and again and again. It is surprising because the mind believes it knows how this works. It believes it knows how it works. It believes it knows what's what and what is not what is and what is not. And none of that is actually what's occurring here. None of that is what's pointed to by the phrase, the unborn. So see the unborn, feel the unborn, hear the unborn, and you will know the unborn. It is right here, regardless of what the mind is saying, regardless of how much doubt there is, regardless of how much seeking there is or avoidance there is. Everything is perfectly managed right here in the unborn.